Well, as the nights draw in and the first frost arrives, we find ourselves on the cusp of December. The garden, once a riot of autumn colour, now stands hushed and expectant, ready for its winter slumber. But that doesn't mean our work is done. Oh no, there's much to be done to prepare our beloved plots for the colder months ahead, and perhaps, just perhaps, add a touch of festive cheer along the way. This month we'll be tucking our plants in for winter, much like putting a cherished garden to bed. We'll be pruning back the old growth, clearing away fallen leaves, and adding a cozy blanket of mulch to protect those vulnerable roots from the biting frost. But December is also a time for celebration, a time for family and friends, and what better way to welcome the festive season than by bringing some of that Christmas magic into our gardens. So join me as we explore some simple yet delightful ways to adorn our outdoor spaces, adding splashes of colour and light to brighten even the shortest of winter days. Now, the most pressing task this month is undoubtedly preparing our gardens for the cold months ahead. Winter can be a harsh mistress, with frost, snow and icy winds all posing a threat to our beloved plants. But fear not, for with a bit of care and attention we can help our gardens weather the storm and emerge healthy and vibrant come spring. First and foremost, we need to protect our plants from frost. A heavy frost can damage delicate leaves and stems, and even kill more tender plants. One of the simplest and most effective ways to do this is by applying a thick layer of mulch around the base of our plants. Think of it as tucking them in with a warm blanket. Garden compost, bark chippings, or even a thick layer of straw will do the trick, insulating the soil and preventing those temperature fluctuations that can prove so damaging. For more vulnerable plants, particularly those grown in containers, we might need to provide a little extra protection. A simple cloche or even an upturned bucket can create a mini greenhouse effect, shielding plants from the worst of the cold. Alternatively, consider wrapping them in horticultural fleece or Hessian breathable materials that will insulate against frost without trapping excess moisture. Now, while we often think of frost as the biggest threat to our gardens in winter, it's important not to overlook the damaging effects of wind. Strong winds can desiccate plants, drying them out and making them more susceptible to cold damage. Evergreen shrubs are particularly vulnerable, so consider erecting a windbreak if your garden is in an exposed spot. A simple fence or hedge can make all the difference, providing a much-needed wind buffer. And don't forget about your watering regime. While it might seem counterintuitive to water your garden in winter, particularly when the ground is frozen, it's important to remember that evergreen plants still lose moisture through their leaves, even in the colder months. So, on milder days when the ground isn't frozen solid, give them a good drink, ensuring the water penetrates right down to the roots. December is an ideal time to tackle those pruning tasks while our gardens are relatively dormant. Now, I know some people find pruning a daunting task, but I assure you it's not as complicated as it seems. Think of it as giving your plants a haircut, removing any dead, diseased or damaged growth, and encouraging healthy new growth in the spring. Start by removing any dead or dying branches. These are not only unsightly, but they can also harbour pests and diseases that could spread to healthier parts of the plant. When pruning, always make clean cuts just above a bud or lateral branch, using sharp secateurs or loppers. Next, look for any crossing or rubbing branches. These can rub together, creating wounds that are susceptible to infection. Remove one of the offending branches, choosing the weaker or less well-placed of the two. For deciduous trees and shrubs, December is a good time to remove any branches that are growing inwards towards the center of the plant. This will improve air circulation and allow more light to reach the center of the plant, promoting healthy growth. Now, while we're tidying up, let's not forget about those fallen leaves. They might seem like a nuisance, but they're actually a valuable source of nutrients for our gardens. Rather than discarding them, gather them up and add them to your compost heap. Over time, they'll break down into a rich, crumbly compost that will work wonders on your soil. Now, with the practicalities of winterizing out of the way, let's turn our attention to something a little more festive. December is a time for celebration, And what better way to bring some Christmas cheer to our gardens than with a touch of seasonal decoration? One of the simplest and most effective ways to add a festive touch is with lighting. String lights, fairy lights, lanterns, anything goes. Drape them over trees and shrubs, wrap them around fences and trellises, or even create a magical pathway with strings of lights leading to your front door. The warm glow of festive lights will transform your garden into a winter wonderland. Next, consider adding some natural decorations. Evergreen boughs, holly branches, and sprigs of mistletoe can be used to create beautiful wreaths, garlands, and other festive arrangements. Forage for pine cones, seed heads, and berries to add texture and interest, and don't be afraid to get creative. If you have bird feeders in your garden, why not give them a festive makeover? Thread popcorn and cranberries onto string to create edible garlands, or simply fill your feeders with a mix of sunflower seeds, peanuts, and suet to provide a welcome feast for our feathered friends during the colder months. And don't forget about your front door. A festive wreath is a must-have, and you can easily create your own using evergreen boughs, holly, and other natural materials. Add a festive doormat and some potted evergreens to complete the look. Just because the weather is turning colder doesn't mean our gardens have to be devoid of color. There are a surprising number of plants that thrive in the cooler months, providing welcome splashes of color and interest to our winter gardens. One of my personal favorites is the winter pansy. These cheerful little flowers come in a wide range of colors, from vibrant yellows and oranges to deep purples and blues. They're remarkably tough, tolerating even quite harsh frosts, and will flower their hearts out right through the winter months. Another great option is the ornamental cabbage or kale. These plants are grown for their colorful foliage rather than their flowers, and they come in a stunning array of colors and patterns. Their large, ruffled leaves add a touch of drama to winter borders and containers, and they're surprisingly low maintenance. If you're looking for something a little taller, consider planting winter flowering heathers. These hardy shrubs come in a variety of colors, from white and pink to purple and red, and their delicate, bell-shaped flowers provide a welcome splash of color during the darker months. And don't forget about bulbs. While we tend to think of bulbs as a spring flowering plant, there are actually a number of varieties that bloom in late winter or early spring, adding a much-needed splash of color to our gardens after the long winter months. Snowdrops, crocuses, and winter aconites are all good choices, and they're relatively easy to grow. And finally, as the days grow shorter and the nights grow longer, let's not forget about bringing a touch of nature indoors. Houseplants not only brighten up our homes during the winter months, but they can also help to purify the air and create a sense of calm and well-being. One of the most popular indoor plants at Christmas time is, of course, the poinsettia. With its bright red bracts, modified leaves, it's a festive favorite that adds instant Christmas cheer to any room. Poinsettias prefer bright, indirect light and need to be kept evenly moist, but avoid overwatering, as this can lead to root rot. Another festive favorite is the Christmas cactus. This easy care succulent produces beautiful, brightly colored flowers in shades of pink, red, and white. Christmas cacti prefer bright, indirect light and need to be watered only when the soil is dry to the touch. If you're looking for something a little more unusual, consider a cyclamen. These beautiful plants produce delicate, butterfly-shaped flowers in shades of pink, red, white, and purple. Cyclamen prefer cool temperatures and bright, indirect light, and they need to be kept evenly moist, but avoid overwatering. And of course, no winter windowsill would be complete without a few fragrant hyacinths or paper white narcissi. These easy-to-grow bulbs can be forced into bloom indoors, filling your home with their sweet, heady fragrance. Simply plant the bulbs in a pot of well-draining compost, water them well, and place them in a cool, bright spot. There you have it, a few simple tasks and festive touches to prepare your garden, not just for the depths of winter, but for the joy and celebration of Christmas. Remember, a garden is never truly asleep, even in the depths of winter. Beneath the surface, life continues, gathering strength for the burst of new life that awaits us in spring. As you sit by the fire, a warm drink in hand, Take a moment to appreciate the quiet beauty of your winter garden. The stark outlines of bare branches against a frosty sky, the delicate tracery of frost on evergreen leaves, the cheerful glow of festive lights. All these things combine to create a sense of peace and tranquility that is unique to this time of year. Embrace the season and let your garden be a source of joy and inspiration throughout the winter months. With these December garden prep tasks, you're ready for winter and the holiday season. Protect your plants, add festive decor, and enjoy the beauty of a garden in harmony with the season. Embrace the season and make your garden a joyful part of your holiday celebrations.